time to get your fix. Come on down, get your horrible gaming review. 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 Ow!
Hello, my name is Zachariah with Old Man Gaming, and you have decided to tune into another horrible game review, and I have no pleasure in this one today. But before we get into it, as usual, a few disclaimers. Number one, the word horrible in the title of this content does not necessarily refer to the game or DLC that I am reviewing, but the actual content itself. I do snap judgment reviews here. I'm trying to give you an idea of whether you're going to enjoy this game right off the bat, and I only play about 5 to 10 hours before doing the reviews. Sometimes more, but usually about 5 to 10. That being said, I don't give scored reviews for my reviews. I do not believe in scored reviews for video games. I think it's one of the most subjective forms of art. And therefore, I will be giving you an overview of what this game is. Then I will tell you the pros and the cons, in my opinion, as all reviews are. And then I will tell you whether I personally will be sticking with the game or not. One last special disclaimer today. I am reviewing the highly controversial, highly anticipated Cyberpunk 2077. Therefore, I am not sure, since I don't exactly know the extent of everything I'm going to say as far as how long it will take. It could go long, and I would expect it to go long because I have a lot to say about this game. So what is Cyberpunk? Cyberpunk 2077 is a first-person role-playing game in which you inhabit a character that you generate yourself. You have a large amount of character creation options, including your genitalia. Once done with the character creation, male or female, you then get to pick an origin story, whether it be Nomad, Corpo, or Street Kid. Then you are plunged into an opening mission and then plunged into an opening world. The idea being you are submerged in Night City. Most of the plot will center around it. Night City is hyper-futuristic. Everybody has cybernetic implants. They have internet ports in their face and their arms. And it's just a terrible world, basically. Everything's hyper-sexualized and super horny. Yeah, and everything is basically corporate-run and corporate-driven. As far as how the early hours of this game play out, basically it plays out the same for everyone, which we'll get to in the cons. But you get a small 30 to 40 minute chunk that is very different, depending on the origin that you pick. But in the end, you end up meeting with the same character in the same bar, having the same bad stuff happen to you, ending up in the same 6-month time jump, and then ending up in the same weird mission to rescue a girl from body scavengers. So telling you all that I don't feel like is a spoiler in any way, shape, or form because that's all prologue. I don't want to get too much into the plot itself, but there is one thing that I will absolutely have to spoil in order to give you a good review as far as it goes. So I am warning you now, if you are listening to it, you will have a small spoiler that most people probably already know spoiled for you in this review. And remember, I have only played, I can tell you exactly, I have played 7.8 hours because I asked for a refund for this, and that was over the limit. We'll get into that later. So if you are concerned about having something spoiled for you in the first 8 hours of gameplay, then you should stop here. However, if you're not that concerned and you know that it's not going to really destroy your enjoyment of the game, then please proceed. But there is something that bothers me about this story that I can't not say here. So, yeah, I'm going to have to spoil that issue. What's that issue that I'm spoiling? Well, I'm not going to tell you the ins and outs of it, but basically at some point you end up on this heist that goes bad. I'm not going to give you the details of that because I'm trying to spoil as little as humanly possible. But during the heist that goes bad, you get this basically data chip shoved in your brain that's stuck there. This data chip is basically the personality of the Keanu Reeves character that we have all seen in the preview. This Keanu Reeves character is basically slowly killing you from the inside out, like replacing your personality with his own until you will cease to exist. So the plot is you're trying to figure out how to get him out of your head as fast and expediently as possible while he kind of appears around you and says Keanu Reeves-y things, but with more swear words. As the game plays out, you also get a myriad of side quests, as this is an open-world RPG. And these side quests come to you in forms of text messages, phone calls, and even person-to-person conversations, although mostly texts and phone calls. In addition to that, there is a very robust build system here to build out and spec out your characters with, I don't remember the actual count, but I believe 5 main statistics that as you put into them unlock perks that you can then put perk points into in different places. And there's just tons of perk options and perk choices here. Now, contrary to what CD Projekt Red has said to you, basically the game plays out like this. You get tasked to do a thing, and then you can accomplish that thing in one of 3 basic ways. There's 3 basic ways to attack your intermediate problems directly in front of you. That is stealth takedowns, obviously, shooting them with a shooting system, and hacking things. A little bit more complicated and involved than, say, Watch Dogs. And that's basically it. Regardless of what they've said to you, and I know we're going to get into that in the cons, that's basically how you approach any situation, and you can decide how you go about it. Nonetheless, this is basically it for the game. Without getting into more spoilers, without getting into more story plotline stuff, which I really prefer not to, this is how you go about things. It's very open world, paint by numbers in a lot of ways. So let's get into the pros and cons, which is going to be the meat of this review. All right, I always start positive. So let's start positive and get this out of the way. The first pro is the biggest pro. And I know that everybody wanted this game to be very revolutionary. I don't think it is, which we'll get into. I know that everybody wanted this thing to be a game changer. However, there is one system in this game, absolutely with a bullet, that is a game changer, and that is the way you communicate with people is seamless and beautiful. Okay? So what I'm saying is, usually in a game, when you're talking to somebody, you walk up to them, there is a button prompt to initiate a conversation with them. And then once you initiate that conversation with them, you're kind of locked in place. And you both just stand there waiting for the other one to talk, and then you talk, but you pick your dialogue option and move through it that way. It kind of makes it almost boring in a lot of ways. And it also definitely takes the organic out of it. With this, you walk up to somebody who wants to talk to you, they just start talking, and you do get button prompts on the screen of possible responses, but you can keep moving. You can select them without actually stopping movement. You can move around them. You could just walk away from them, or of course you could talk to them. That little tweak, that small little tweak, really made me feel like I was in the game talking to somebody instead of just going through another system that the game was offering me. And this kind of thing stays true with the texts. It stays true with the phone conversations, calling people, texting people, stuff like that. It's very organic, very real. Obviously not real to life because this is a neo-futuristic sort of wasteland type game, but it's very true to life as far as like how you would text somebody, how you would talk to somebody. The same with like sitting down, getting into cars. All the animations are very clean, unless you're buggy, but I mean what they're trying to do is very clean. It actually makes you feel like you're in a car, makes you feel like you're having a conversation. You can look around while talking to people and stuff. I really enjoyed that. I found that is probably the most innovative system that this game has to offer. All right, pro number 2. This pro is the shooting in this game. Look, I gotta say, I was very confused when I played this after all the reviews had basically not really bashed the shooting, but tempered people's expectations that it's a first-person shooter first. This is definitely not a first-person shooter first. It's very dialogue heavy. There's not a ton, like there is a ton of action sequences, but you don't just have them constantly. like a Call of Duty or something like that. That being said, the shooting actually feels amazing in this game. There is a heft and weight to each gun. The recoil is smart and well done. The guns are accurate, not like Fallout where you just miss shots for no reason. It's very, very, very well done. I liked the shooting in this game. I have to say, of all the things that this game presents, I think it's one of the best ways to interact with the action sequences. The stealth system, well, we'll get into the other two systems because they're going to be in pros, but the shooting was a pleasant surprise in my opinion. All right, my third pro. The third pro is the build system. This was something I was not expecting. I mean, they boasted it, but I just don't expect this level of build system from an RPG like this, and man, they did not disappoint. There are so many perks and so many ways to trick out your character. Some of them prove useless, which we'll get into, but just a myriad of ways to attack your character, go at your character, deal with stat points, deal with perk points. That I really enjoyed. That I was really enticed and surprised by that. All right. Unfortunately, that is the last of the pros for me. Now, I do want to say one more time before we get into the list of cons here. I don't want to hate this game. I wanted to like this game. Really, really badly wanted to like this game. I know there's a lot of people out there who are going to bash this game just for the fun of bashing it. I'm not one of those people. I'm trying to give you an idea of my experience playing this game. So with that said, you're going to hear a lot of cons because I'm very unhappy with it. But I just want you guys to know I'm not an attention seeker. I'm just trying to give you a good opinion. I don't want to bash this game. I really wanted to love this game. I don't like giving negative reviews, and anybody who's watched a lot of my reviews know I hate it. That being said, the cons, there are a lot of them. First and foremost, don't play this on console. Now, I did not play this on console. I played this on PC through Steam. However, Foundation member Neil, aka Tiny Wizard, did play it on console and ran into a host of bugs. And he was playing it on a PlayStation 5, which everybody says it works better on. Bugs including your partner Jackie walking through walls and somehow breaking all of the scenery, and it throws lockers around and stuff. There was another one where they were playing and cop cars started chasing them, but instead of actually driving, they were just spinning like ninja stars towards him. Plenty of doors that wouldn't open, doors that wouldn't close, that sort of thing. A lot of times restarting. He had a hard time loading it in the first place. And, you know, of course, it's not hard to just go on the internet and look up what this console version looks like on Xbox One or PlayStation 4. And I can't say that I'm not very scared that CD Projekt Red, though they promised us in the first place, aren't going to just abandon those consoles and the performance on them. So that being said, this is not, don't buy this on console. It's not good. Even IGN was forced to do a second review on console specifically and gave it a 4 out of 10 instead of their original 9 out of 10, which I still think is too high. All right, that out of the way, let's talk about the stuff that I experienced. And I'm going to go ahead and say I experienced quite a bit of bugs that irritated me as well. Number one, I experienced 2 different bugs in which I would go through a long gunfight or, action sequence. I'd get to a part where I needed to do a thing and I couldn't do a thing because the thing had either gotten stuck, clipped somewhere, or teleported outside of the place where I could get to, which would force me to restart the entire action sequence, which sometimes was as much as 40 to 50 minutes prior to when I had been playing. I will give you exact examples. The first one is when you end up in this gunfight scene with Jackie towards the beginning of the prologue, through a warehouse where you end up actually like fighting this big dude in an exosuit skeleton. Jackie somehow got stuck inside that warehouse. When you walk out of it, Corpo people locked down the warehouse. Well, since he was stuck inside, he wouldn't leave the warehouse, and I couldn't get in to talk to him, so I literally had to do the entire gunfight again. Example number 2, there is a hotel fight scene where you have to fight down multiple floors of a hotel or sneak through them or whatever. In any case, when getting all the way to the end of this, there's one last bad guy who has a key to operate an elevator to escape. That bad guy somehow died and spawned outside the elevator, so I couldn't get the key. I had to do the entire hotel scene all over again, basically redoing everything I did. So that really irritated me. Another bug I experienced I would go to look at guns that were on the street, and sometimes their stats would just get locked on my screen, so I couldn't see half my screen. Another one I experienced, and a lot of the world had already experienced, is that having a hat on just made me appear bald, which was also irritating. And these bugs that I experienced are on Steam, on PC, which is the absolute best way to play this game. So that's pretty sad when it's the best way to play this game and I'm still getting stuff like this. Which was the basis for my request for a refund. However, in case anybody is out there wondering, PSA, Steam will not refund you if you've played more than 2 hours of a game, which I think is a little unfair given the size of games nowadays in our modern world, but it is what it is. I'll take it with a grain of salt. Still, confessions. As you have just heard, I did ask for a refund. But if I'm being completely honest, I didn't necessarily ask for that refund because of the technical issues, because I've dealt with bugs before. And if this game was truly compelling, I would have wanted to stick with it even without the bugs. However, this game is not truly compelling. So, now we need to get into the other part of this. And this is the part that I'm sure a lot of you will disagree. And that's fair. It is your opinion, but this is just my opinion. This game doesn't do anything better than any run-of-the-mill Ubisoft game, and definitely falls far short of anything Rockstar has produced, which I'm not a huge fan of Rockstar games, just so you know. This one, what they promised us was a lie, and it's my biggest con here. They promised us a depth of immersion and a depth of player choice here that just isn't here. Case in point, they said you could be a pacifist. You could go through the entire game without killing anybody. The opening montage that every player goes through, you shoot people in it. You can't be a pacifist and shoot people. It just doesn't work. Don't get me wrong. I don't necessarily want to play all my games as a pacifist, but I want the option there. You know, you also had this moment where, like, everybody gets into this first scene where you have to rescue this girl from body scavengers. And the only ways to do that are to stealth knock out people, hack people, or shoot people. And I gotta be honest, Watch Dogs does that. Assassin's Creed does that. Like, that's the same offer from any open world game out there today. Now, I have seen a lot of reviews that say the end of the game can be very different from person to person, and a lot of player choice goes into that in the long run, and that's fair. I mean, I don't play these long enough to get that full picture, and I don't do that purposely for this reason, so that it does not, in any way, shape, or form, sway my opinion of whether or not I'm having fun right off the bat. So I played 8 hours, and I was let down at every conceivable level. Like, as I played, with the exception of communication, the exception of shooting, and the exception of the build system, I was just slowly let down one step at a time. There are so many points in this game where there could be more player choice, and there isn't. There's a point early on where you get tasked with a job to kind of steal from this convoy thing, and you know a corpo person in that. Why can't I just rat my friends out to the corpo person right then and there? And the reason is because they're pushing you towards a story, and that story makes things very linear. And that's the problem here, is that this game's writing is in direct conflict with what they promised us it would be, which is we get to go into this world and we get to make the choices we want to make. You still really can't do that. You're still kind of pushed in one direction, and you have so many ways to do it, and they're not a lot, like 3 or 4 ways to do each thing. There is some moments of true player choice. I will give it that. Just like I was saying with the mission that I was talking about, while I couldn't just betray my people to the corpo people, I could still meet with the corpo person and then try and make a deal with them. And if I made a deal with them, I could actually use that information to actually potentially screw them over and steal from them too, or I didn't, and it might get me a gunfight later. So there are kind of branching subplots here, but it's still not anything more than you would get from any other game. And to return to the writing, and this is what I was talking about with the spoilers of the whole person being stuck in your brain thing. My next con, and the con that really made me not want to play this anymore, was I can't think of a worse story or plot mechanism for a game that has been advertised all about exploring a world and getting into side quests than putting a perceived time limit on it. Don't get me wrong. This isn't my first day to video games. I am very, very, very aware that there's no actual time limit in this game, and that the Keanu Reeves character in your head that's slowly taking over your psyche is only going to take over more and more of your psyche as the plot progresses whenever you get to it. Nonetheless, you're all about role-playing in this game. You've made a really immersive experience to role-play to. So if I'm truly role-playing my character, the only thing I want to do is get that fucking thing out of my head. And that bothered me, because now if I'm playing my character correctly, I'm not going to want to do any of the side quests, the tons and tons of side quests that you throw down. And the side quests themselves, and I know I'm just kind of blending all these together, but I'm kind of on a rant now. The side quests themselves are very run-of-the-mill. There's not a whole lot of stuff special to them. Go here, shoot some people. Go here, steal a thing. Like, it's... Guys, this is not really anything different from what you've seen in any other open-world game that has ever been released. And while I don't think that's necessarily bad, I don't think it's good. And I think it makes it worse that we've been lied to for 7 years that this is going to be a life-altering experience of a game, and it's not. It's just a paint-by-numbers open-world game with some halfway decent graphics, a lot of horniness, and first-person view. That's it. I mean, just to add into it, some of the systems don't even work properly the way they want to. One of the gunfights that I got into, the arbitrary gunfights to rescue people being robbed, once I had shot them all, the people refused to get up and ran away. They just sat there and cowered. Like, that's bad. That's bad programming. There's another thing where I built my character to be able to throw knives and deal a lot of damage with it. Well, this game somehow destroys knives every time you throw them. You can't take them back out of a body unless my game's glitching, and that's why I can't get my knives back. Either way, con against, which is really frustrating because I could only ever find 2 knives at a time. So throwing 2 of them, immediately I'd kill one guy and I'd be done. I'm sure the hacking is fun if I really get into it, but personally, I find it to be overcomplicated and cumbersome, which kept me pushed away from it. On top of that, there's no actual net running here. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't know that there was net running in the Cyberpunk tabletop game, but I always thought there was like a virtual world, kind of like Johnny Mnemonic style, that you could enter and go through. There's really none of that here. At least, if there is, it's not until later, and it's probably a set piece that you don't get to just do willy-nilly. I was hoping to be able to jack onto a virtual world in this. That don't happen. That doesn't even close to happen. And then, of course, the romance options and the weird genitalia. I don't mind editing my penis. I'm going to say that right now. I have no problems with editing my penis at all. However, as crazy as this sounds, I will then, if you're going to make me edit it, I would expect to see it in the game somewhere. Any sex scene I was involved in never showed my penis. Why do I need to pick if it's circumcised or not at that point? It's weird, and I don't understand it. As far as the romance options are concerned, you know, there was so much talk about romance. I didn't think that was ever going to be true, but I expected more than 4 characters, 2 male, 2 women. That's it. That's all you can romance in this game. There is one other character that you can have a one-night stand with, and then there's prostitutes. You can't do any erotic brain dances in it. It just doesn't happen. So that was another really weird part that I didn't understand. So for Immersion, I like, of the games I've played this year, I felt the most in this game like I was just being pushed along by a story. And that's not what I wanted out of this game. I don't think that's what most of the people wanted out of this game. They wanted to be dropped into Night City and be able to have fun here. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that there shouldn't be a storyline. I think there should. I think that this storyline is poorly constructed. I think it is written for a game that is not an open world game. And I don't think that they did the open world stuff even as well. And I'm going to say this right now, put me on the record. I think Witcher 3 was a better game than this, guys. I think Witcher 3, with a character you didn't create, had more freedom of character than this game with a character you create. Just saying. So, all right. Brings me to whether or not I'm going to stick with it. I think you guys have figured out I'm not going to stick with it. I won't say that I won't go back to it again. Maybe try it again. Get the bad taste out of the lies out of my mouth. Just give it another shot maybe. Because there are things I enjoyed about it. The shooting was fun. The interaction is really immersive and really cool and innovative. I do want to play with those builds a little bit more. But everything around it is just so bad. It's not even that it's bad. It's par or subpar. And this was the promise, guys. This was the game that was going to change the world. And it's not even up to snuff. It's not even up to what normal games are right now. I don't think IGN should have given it a 9. I mean, that's fair if they think so. Again, they also play through the whole game. I am not going to do that. So, I don't know. I don't know if this guy helped you guys. I know I got a little bit of a rant on the cons, but this game really upset me. I was really looking forward to a positive review here, and it's not one. This is not fun. I do not recommend you play this. I do not recommend you buy this. I don't think this is even fun for streamers, because even with the streamer mode that they put in, the game has so much dialogue that as a streamer, you can't talk and let your personality be seen. Yeah, and there's no real action scenes in it to really entice your audience if you're not talking. So it's literally just listening to the characters in game talk. It's very strange. So I don't know. Like I said, not going to come back to this game. Probably not going to play it again unless I get really bored or run out of things. But I got to say, I was playing it, and I just at some point I was like, I could be playing something else that I haven't finished yet that's better than this. I could be playing Horizon Zero Dawn. I could be playing, I don't know. There's plenty of other games that I could be playing right now that I could be playing more Watch Dogs Legion. This just doesn't do it. And it's sad because I really wanted this to do it, but it doesn't. So, all right. Hope this guy helped you guys. Hope it didn't make anybody too mad. Obviously, as usual, this is just an opinion, so if you disagree, it's totally fair. It's just how I felt when I played. So hopefully this helps you guys out there. Either way, whether you liked me or hate me, you can check me out on Facebook. Well, check us out at Facebook, OldManGamingDH, on Twitter at OldManGaming9. You can join our Discord. The link is in the description below. And you can influence this and all of our shows from there. And until I talk to you again, until I see you again, you guys keep watching and listening. I'll keep making them. See you guys next week.